What'd you think of your first day on the field?
Felt good. Honestly, I think this is definitely a place where I thrive, being able to get back in the building. And I think, within 6 months of the draft process, you're kind of teamless. And, a lot of time for you to build and grow individually. But this is where I thrive, being in a team environment. And that's why you play the game of football,
When we talked to Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, they said they spent so much time with you during the pre-draft process. Did you get a sense that they really liked you?
Yeah, I think it was mutual. And I think naturally you have conversations and you look at the game of football in a similar way. Naturally that just builds over time. So spent a lot of time with them. Of course, super excited I'm here and blessed that I am. And felt like, this is a spot for sure.
Dillon, that video with the bird calls, was that authentic? Was that all wrong?
Yeah, it's like that metaphor, a little birdie told me. So kind of played with that, but funny enough that got out. And yeah, it's there for everyone to see.
Dillon, can you just address this whole notion of you're coming in here as the 3rd round pick, Shedor's coming in as the 5th round pick, yet
Yep.
he brings a lot of the social media and the entourage and the hype and all the hoopla and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So what is your sort of mindset or approach to that whole notion of that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, life of simplicity is a life full of, focus. Life of, complexity comes with life of distractions, but for me, I'm focused. I'm simple. I know what I want to accomplish.
With that, though, what was your reaction when you found out they did draft Shedeur after they drafted you?
Yeah, I love it. I love it because of who it is. I think just for us both, you can learn from one another, but also it's not just us two in the room, at least for right now it is, but, going into the year, Kenny, Joe, and even Deshaun, just a bunch of guys who played a bunch of ball that we can all learn from one another.
How familiar were?
Has there been anyone in this building that maybe you gravitated towards and got any party attached yourself to here?
Yeah, Ron and Corey in the equipment room, they've been huge help. Definitely guys you interact with every single day, but not only them, I think just a bunch of the guys going through this process, grinding and learning from one another, but it's been a good one, and I think you see the urgency from everyone and knowing that this opportunity you want to maximize.
Dillon, how familiar?
Coming in here and being part of a 4-man quarterback competition this offseason.
Yep, it's not new to me. I've done it at every stop, and I've done it at every level. So thank goodness for that and great preparation in that. But also know that my competition is yesterday. How can I be better than I was yesterday? So that's what I'm focused on, and continue to create an environment that you want to be a part of, and that's all you can do.
Dillon, how familiar were you and Shedeur with one another, like in college or anything?
I think from a distance, you definitely watch quarterbacks playing at a high level, and I think with anyone, you're pretty focused on your season and who you play against, but of course know of and have seen.
And then just with the Browns, you talked about the interest being mutual, you thought, throughout the pre-draft process. What about them? Did you enjoy getting to meet Kedon and everyone ahead of time?
Yeah, just like I said, the similar way of thinking about the game, and offensively, schematically, the whole nine. I just appreciate that. And, I think naturally when you, in any profession, if you connect with a person, it just happens, and naturally it's our thing about football, but also as people. Very easy people to, learn from and be coached by.
When you talk about keeping it simple and sort of not getting distracted,
Yeah.
How about just like you guys, every single thing that you do is going to be scrutinized, put out there on social media, put on Twitter. Even yesterday, people were like, oh, Dillon did better, Shedeur did better. So what about that? Do you plan to kind of ignore that, engage in it? What's your approach to that?
Yeah, I think the more questions I get asked like that, it just divides the team. And for me, I think, we're in a room full of not just us, but Kenny, Joe, and Deshaun. And for us, we know how important a healthy QB room is, but also, a team that you want to be a part of, and how do you create an environment every single day where everyone can be at their best? And that's just pushing one another, which talent naturally does. And, naturally it's healthy, for us where we all go do our thing and everyone wins.
Dillon, in the mechanics of your position, how important is it to spiral the ball?
Yeah, I think, naturally with pace, touch, and accuracy, spin naturally helps that. Also, velocity has, a little bit to do with it. But then just getting the ball from point A to point B in as efficient way as possible, spiral naturally helps that.
Dillon, what goes into your process? You've transitioned into different offenses multiple times in college. What goes into your process of kind of expediting the process of picking up the new system you're going in?
Yeah, there's no way around it, just through, and you got to continue to learn. Of course, I've had my time in learning a bunch of new offenses and a bunch of different areas and connecting with different people, but for the most part, it's hard work, it's dedication. Everyone has their process, whether it's walkthroughs, installs, being able to tie in film with that, but for the most part, there's no way around it, it's through.
How would you compare the playbook at Oregon versus what you walked into here in Cleveland?
A lot of similarities. I think verbiage for everyone has been something that's new, and that's natural. In college there is more tempo-based offenses, which, naturally to help yourself in tempo, you have to have shorter calls where, in the NFL, a huddle is more a natural procedure. So naturally you can, add more verbiage to that. But for me, did a mixture of both. Very blessed as well to do the Senior Bowl, which was great practice for this kind of stuff. But throughout the process, you tend to go through playbooks and have to rep it that day of. And like I said, 3 different spots, you learn how to create your own process for it.
Dillon, what about hearing your name called, take us inside your draft party and what that moment was like for you?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think, when you go back to that, it's a dream come true, but it's also the beginning of your dream. So excited for the work to come, and this is where I wanted to be, but the dreams and goals don't stop there.
What's been your interaction or reaction with Browns fans so far?
I haven't had enough yet. It's been my second day, but bunch of love. Look at this weather. Isn't this beautiful? But no, I'm just playing. But yeah, it's been a blessing coming here and kind of getting the lay of the land, even though it's only my second day. So I'll have to answer that here in a couple weeks.
In your college career, how often were you under center? Would you put a percentage on it?
A good mixture. I think more so this past year. But naturally, if you play 6 years in college, you're going to get under center one way or another. And for me, comfortability is just getting reps. And we're repping it a bunch here, but have done it in game, in practice, in college. So it'll naturally translate as well.
I think you said before that you're used to competition at quarterback, but you also started a ton of games. So does this feel any different to you walking into such a kind of wide open competition?
It doesn't. And like I said, with competition, how I approach it, I'm trying to beat yesterday. Myself yesterday. Just any chance I can be 1% better than that. That's how I look at it. And naturally, you play the quarterback position. Only one guy can play. So there's naturally going to have competition at all levels, and that's why we're in this game. We love it, and if you're a competitor, you love it and you run towards it. So that's what I do.
Could you clear it up? Were you told by the Browns we're taking you at 94?
I don't know. We'll leave that up to mystery.
Dillon, I know there was this clip going around from you in college talking about you like playing in nice weather or climate-controlled elements.
Well, I hear you there. I'll say this. This is what's tough about right now, right? Like in this day and age, a clip is a clip, yet it was a fun interview full of a bunch of questions. So I'm glad you asked that question. But we decided to clip certain things that maybe could get more views than other, clips within that video. I just challenge everyone to watch the full video, and not just watch one clip.
Dillon, going through the draft process, the biggest criticism was your size. What do you have to say to those critics say that you might not be big enough?
I have nothing to say to the critics. For me, everyone has an opinion and is right to have their own opinion and can speak in how they feel. But for me, like I said, I'm simple, I'm focused. I got goals I want to accomplish. I would not be here if I listened to other people. So for me, it's listening to the right people, coaches, getting better every single day. And controlling what you can is when you get in between those white lines, dominating the moment, maximizing the moment, being present.
You said, one last thing.
Yep.
You said the day you were drafted, we talked to you on the phone, and you said I've never been not a starter. So is your mindset that you can be the starter early for this team?
I think it's so early. For me, I said that in the sense that I only know one way to prepare. I only know one way to work, and that is as the starter. You know, I've played a bunch of ball and have a lot of experience, so I'm going to use that to my advantage. But for the most part, I can't say that right now. I got to continue to dominate the moment and have great practices. As you build upon that, you know, I still look forward to meeting my new teammates, you know, the vets on Monday. So I think that'll be a question down the road. But I think every day I approach is like I'm going to go get that rep, and, you know, I live it like that.